Okay, the prototype Excalibre 15, the first one, is ready to be tested. So we're going to start with some voltage tests. Confirming that the wall voltage through the variac is 120. It's right about 120. The wall voltage is fluctuating a lot today. We're having thunderstorms. So that's good. So at the 120 mains, our heaters are at 6.5. That's pretty damn perfect. 6.3 is nominally the goal. 6.5 is well within the range of what you want. So let's confirm our DC nodes. So at the reservoir cap, 341, 342 rather. At the screen, 316, 317. At the phase inverter, 286. I think I'd like that to come up a little bit. These dropping resistors are good guesses for the start. I always start with the Voxy stuff and then I'll tweak from there. I don't care about the components being the Vox components. I care about the sound being right. All right, so for the normal channel, 292, that's pretty close. And then 289 for the phase, for the Pinto. I think I'd like to get each of those up just a little bit. That's just a matter of tweaking dropping resistors. All right, our screen voltage at each 7189, which is a military spec U84, 316, 316, and our plate voltages 311, 311. Now it is quite normal in this circuit for the plate voltages to be a little bit lower than the screens at idle. Let's check the bias. I've already measured this resistor. It's nominally 120 ohms. It's actually 117.5 ohms. And across that resistor, we have 9.52 volts. I'll put that into my thing. And then we measure the plate to cathode voltage. 300.9. Put that into my calculator. That means right now these tubes are idling at 12.19 watts. I may once I'm happy with everything else, I might bump that up a little bit. I'd like to get this closer to 13.5, 14 watts at idle, which will make these 7189s be a little more awake and lively, and it won't be too hot for a standard EL84, which I'll check as well, you know, JJ, Electro-Harmonics, whatever. But so far so good. Let's check our plate voltages at each tube, plate and cathode voltages. Someday I'm going to have some leads from my meter where the black and red don't want to twist around each other all the time. So on the phase inverter, I turn the master down, which works. By the way, I confirmed that at initial power up. 206 volts, 210. Then on the cathode there, about 62, and then about 60. That's all within what I expect. Cathode here, 1.6, 168. That's maybe a little higher than I was expecting, but not much. Let's go to this plate on the EF86. 69 volts. 105 volts. I'm not happy with that. And then 2.44 volts. Pentodes in general, EF86s in particular, are finicky bastards. And right now I have very much the Vox circuit, which is not going to give me the Vox sound with these voltages. I want this voltage to be up. I want this voltage to be down. And I may go through and create an actual voltage divider rather than doing it the way Wavox did it. I want to get the sound of a great early 60s AC-15, even if I get there a slightly different way. Now, the EF86 I have in here now is a new old stock Tungsram, but that does not mean that it's any damn good. Let me see if I've got another EF86 here that I could put in. I don't think that I do right now. No, I need to get a bog standard Electro-Harmonix for comparison to just make sure I'm not chasing my tail with anything wonky on this Tungsram, though I doubt it. It's not microphonic much. They all are to some degree, but that's nothing bad. But I know that I will not like the sound of the EF86 channel as it exists right now. I have built into the board the ability to tweak that and get it to where I will like it. Remember, this is the first one. This is a prototype, and you can design everything in the world with math, and then when you hear it, you have to tweak from there. So the design part is getting it to a good starting point to then make good decisions based on how it's actually sounding and interacting with other things. And all the variables can be tweaked as I need them to be. But, yeah, it could be a matter of, all right, the capacitance of that shield in conjunction with the voltage, in conjunction with one other little thing, all adds up to a sound that I'm not going for. And changing one thing is less likely than changing maybe 2 or 3 things. I doubt it's the shield. This was just an example that was easily visible. The voltages on the plate and screen on an EF86 make radical changes to the sound with relatively minor changes to the component values. So you change those voltages, the sound changes. This is just a starting point. Let me flip this around and let you see the front panel, and I will let you hear it as it is now. Well, let's look at the rear panel first, just because it's already here. So I had wanted to do that dark gray anodized aluminum on the panels, and I found out that the real stuff is hideously expensive for small quantities, and the stuff that says it looks like anodized aluminum does not to me. To me, it just looked cheap. So front and back, I've got this really nice stuff, laser it material, which is very thin, has a nice sheen to it, black, that reveals to this nice reflective silver. I think on the rear panel of this amp, since it's going to be kind of shadowed by the panel, by the cabinet, then future ones I will just do a matte black that reveals to white for greater legibility in less lit air conditions. The other difference between this one and future ones, there's supposed to be a window opening here, a rectangular hole that revealed the chassis beneath. That's where I was going to put the serial number on a sticker against the chassis and then put this over it. And the guy who makes my panels didn't get that right on this first one. That'll get fixed on subsequent ones. So this first prototype, I've got a silver paint pen. I'll put something here, but I had planned for a window there. The other changes on this one, let me mute the amp for a second. It has 16 ohm and then 2 8 ohms. Future ones are going to have a switch right here for 16 ohms, 8 ohms, and then just 2 output jacks. So that'll be a little bit easier for future amps. Prototypes, always something that occurs to you after the fact. Let's flip around to the front now. All right. LEDs never show up right on phone cameras, but right now it is in mute. And I don't know if you can see that this does have a glow. To the eye, it's very visibly red. It's just much dimmer than when it's in play. When it's in play, it's a very bright red. When it's in mute, it is a lower value red, very much dimmer. You can certainly see it when it's off versus low versus high in play. You can see that from across the room. Now, this is where other amps would have standby. This amp does not need standby. Standby would just stress out the rectifier tube. So this amp has got a play mute switch. So, you know, you want to change guitars, mute it if you don't have the muting cable. Want to change speakers, mute it. Take a break between sets, mute it. The amp stays on, everything stays heated. There's no pop. Everything works great. Master volume, just labeled level because it's in the output section. The post-phase inverter master volume. The color is the cut circuit from the Vox, only it's backwards so that clockwise equals brighter. It's just using a reverse audio taper pot, so it's the exact same circuit and behavior. So let's start with the normal channel, I think, where those voltages seemed a little bit more to my likings. And neck middle on a Strat. Let's set the color probably about right there. I'll turn that tight switch off. By the way, there's zero noise floor to this amp when the two channel volumes are off. As you bring it up, that's all environmental noise here. So far, very promising. And remember, this is not supposed to sound like a bright, chimey Vox. This is the normal channel. I wanted just a very nice, balanced sound. When the EF86 Pinto channel is optimized, it's not going to have a ton of clean headroom. And I wanted the owner to have a second channel which just had a very nice, beautiful clean. To make the amp a lot more versatile, because you can always add pedals for more gain, but it's nice to have a little 15 watt amp that you can just grab and know that your baseline sound is there. Now this tight switch, you won't hear the huge difference through the phone camera mic. Just doesn't pick up the lows. When I do a real playing video for this, I'll demonstrate that. But this is working as I expected. The response isn't quite magical yet. Again, there are things I built into this amp to tweak in the future once I had it to this point. And I will tweak it until it goes from good to great. The master volume is working well. Now, you will not hear that to a huge extent through the phone mic because the compression offsets the level differences. And even with a post-phase inverter master volume in this amp, this channel only has the two gain stages. The triode here, and then the phase inverter, which has a little bit of gain. So this loses gain as you turn it down. From about 1 o'clock up, it's good. is not to make this sound like itself at the quote bedroom levels. It's the ability to say big stage, smaller stage, practice. And, you know, if you take this sound right here, so this is the bedroom level, set this to clean, bedroom level right there. And you have pedals for overdrive and reverb and all that. You'll be very, very happy with the results. There's an airiness that I'm not getting, and I'll be revisiting that before someone goes on. You know, it's them dang shielded cables. You know what I mean, and all that stuff. I know all the factors which can make an amp airy or not airy. Many amps with shielded cables have a lot of air in them. There are a lot of other factors, and most people are unaware, and I will be revisiting them, and the final version of this prototype that you hear will have the air back in spades. This is just a very good amp as it is now. Let's make it a great amp before it goes to the owner. All right, let's go to the Pinto channel. Now all bets are off as to whether I'm going to like this given those voltages as they are now. Neck middle again on a Strat. That tight switch is working as I expected. This one too tight against the nut. It doesn't want to turn. I'll have to loosen it. Right now because it's bothering me. The sound is bothering me too. It's just a little, it's not the one that fits. It's almost worse in that it's worse than an amp that sounds bad because it is close to great, but it is not there, which can be more maddening than an amp that just doesn't sound very good. You work with it, say, well, I can make this work for me. This is just on the verge of being really nice, and it's not quite getting there. And that bothers me more than you know. Much better when the knob turns. It's almost hard to put in words what's wrong with it. It's grainy, it's compressed, and it's tubby in certain frequencies that it should not be. But more importantly, I'm not getting a good reaction from guitar to speaker with it. I should be having overtones and clean feedback with it. And I'm just not. And So I think what's happening here is, besides the voltages being off on the Pinto channel, and I think the output needs some tweaking as well. Some things I've been considering before as, I wonder if that's going to be X or Y. I think it is X now that I've played it. I think there needs to be a little more air and impact in the output section. And I won't bore you with all the details. Neither will I give away some of my little secrets I picked up over the years. But this is a very good starting point to this amp. As far as the grounding goes, it is dead silent. And the signal to noise ratio overall is pretty phenomenal. I just need to get in here and say, why are you only very good? Let's get you great. Because I'm not going to sell anyone an amp that's just meh. Not in the business of meh. Well, after that bit of initial playing and measurements, I'm going to focus on the output section and the normal channel, and then turn my attention to the pentode. I'd love to stop everything else I'm doing and just focus on this. And I'll be thinking about this a lot as I do other things. But I do have all these amps here, ranging from the wild and exotic and valuable to the mundane. But each one of those is important to the owner. And I need to put this to the side and change out some old output transistors in a Sun Coliseum bass head, or face a revolt. The peasants are revolting. It's just really hard to keep up with the workload some days, and I'd rather focus on this and waiting for some goodies for the park. And they're the amps that I think about, and what about this, what about that? And then they're the things that I've just got to get done. We all have those responsibilities. I've got some mesas in progress that I'll put some videos up as well, because I think they'll be of interest to people. But on this amp, I think the two things I'm going to focus on first are, I don't like the taper of the master volume. I think it loses output too quickly and pretty much is useless below 1 o'clock. And that's an audio taper in here. I'm going to change it to a linear taper. And I'm also going to do a little change in the way it behaves as far as gain. It's hard to explain, but I'll show after the fact. I want to get this so that half is half the level. Right now, half the level is right about here. And that's just a matter of the taper. And that change of the taper will mean that it will not change as radically in sound through this range. In amps with more gain stages, the preamp distortion remains less affected as you turn it down. In this amp, because of what it is, that is not the case. But I'm going to make a change which will give it a little less of a change in that regard as you turn it down. The color, I think I might need to tweak either the value of the pot or the value of the capacitor. It's fine as far as dumping all that stuff, but I'm not getting that air in the amp. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to disconnect this, and I want to see where the amp is at its brightest, and then I will reintroduce the control over that bright. And on the normal channel, there are fewer variables than there are on the pentode. So once I get this amp so that the sound is where I want it, with the normal channel and the output, and everything is copacetic, and I'm getting the clean feedback and response with the pickups and the right-hand attack where I want, at that point I will revisit the stuff in the pentode and get that just perfect. These are things I know I can do. I have done them before, and once I get it locked in place, then every subsequent one that I build will be like that from the first time it's powered on. It's always fun, designing a new amp, and on the surface of this, it's just copying an AC-15, but it's not that. It's the way everything interacts and goes together, and it's I hate to say a holistic approach, because I think that's a bunch of hogwash, but You have to look at the whole system and how everything works together or works against itself. And this is a physically different layout than the Vox. It's a different combination of channels than any Vox had. And there are lots of little things that I've got to put on my design hat for. I am really confident in how this will sound, and I look forward to being able to show you the next level of stuff done to this. But as it is now, it is not the amp that I will be letting out into the world. But I know what to do, and I look forward to doing it. And gosh darn it, it's pretty.